Andrew pulled a cozy sweater from the closet and carefully placed it on top of the small pile of clothes resting at the edge of the bed. Just as he did, Lauren stepped into the room, leaning casually against the doorframe. With a warm smile, she asked if he'd like to join her for some tea. Nodding, Andrew followed her to the kitchen. She set the table, and they both sat down. As they sipped their tea, she asked about his work, trying to figure out exactly when he'd be back. But Andrew was lost in thought, barely registering her words. His mind was consumed with one goal: buy an apartment. He was determined to secure a place of their own, which meant he spent all his free time either working or hunting for better-paying opportunities. Lauren understood he was doing this for their future, but that didn't stop the frustration from creeping in. He was hardly ever home. Still, she couldn't bring herself to complain, especially when he always found little ways to show he cared, surprising her with small gifts, leaving her sweet notes, and constantly reminding her how much he adored her. Once they finished their tea, Andrew zipped up the last of his luggage and prepared to leave for another business trip. Lauren, a full-time student at the local Teachers Institute, didn't work, and Andrew had taken on the full responsibility of providing for them. It was a heavy burden, and the exhaustion weighed on him daily, but he convinced himself it was worth it. One evening, from his hotel room, Andrew tried calling Lauren. She didn't pick up. That was unusual. A sense of unease settled in his chest. He tried again, but there was no answer. The next day, a message finally came through. She was in the hospital. Panic surged through him. He called immediately. This time, she answered, reassuring him that she was feeling better. She was in the obstetrics and gynecology ward, she explained, but it was just a hormonal issue triggered by stress. Andrew's heart pounded. He had always dreamed of starting a family, but they'd agreed to wait until they were more settled. His mind raced with concern for her health. Without hesitation, he requested time off from work and rushed home. The moment he arrived at the hospital, he checked in at the front desk, got her room number, and hurried upstairs. Just as he reached her door, her attending doctor stepped out. Desperate for answers, Andrew approached him and asked about her condition. The doctor hesitated for a moment before offering a faint smirk. Then, with a knowing look, he suggested that marital intimacy shouldn't be so aggressive, as that could have contributed to her health issues. Andrew felt his stomach drop. They hadn't been intimate for 2 weeks. A sinking realization washed over him. If the doctor believed her condition was caused by physical strain, it meant she had been with someone else while he was away. Dazed, Andrew turned and walked out of the hospital. His mind was blank, his emotions numbed by betrayal. By the time he got home, the shock had settled into something cold and resolute. Without hesitation, he pulled out Lauren's suitcase and began packing, her clothes, her cosmetics, anything that belonged to her. Once everything was gathered, he drove to her parents' house, set the bags on their doorstep, and simply told them that their daughter would have to explain. It hurt, more than anything he'd ever experienced. He had believed she was home studying, waiting for him, counting down the days until he returned. Instead, she had been spending those nights with someone else. As much as he felt betrayed and humiliated, a part of him also blamed himself. He had worked so hard to secure their future that he hadn't realized he was losing her in the present. But that didn't excuse what she had done. From that moment on, Andrew made a decision. He would build his life differently. First, he would get a home. Then, when the time was right, he would start a family, but only with someone whose loyalty he would never have to question.